Yes, I will request my speakers to put on their videos for purposes of introducing the session. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Lucy. One more person to go. Okay, so we can go right ahead. So we've had some amazing conversations and presentations over the past couple of 32 hours or so, and it's been amazing and impactful. So as a crown to these presentations, we want to delve better into who the 360 woman is. So allow me to say what I think would be an embodiment of her. Thank you, Sally. So once upon a time, there was a woman. She was the embodiment of beauty, the pillar of strength, and the most gracious being on earth. Over the years, she has morphed into a more sophisticated, yet very simple woman who now knows to be the 360-degree woman. Many a question has been asked about this woman, why she is, who she is, and how she manages just to survive in the demanding world. Well, here's a bit of our definition. Who is a 360-degree woman? The word 360 degrees means an all-round, wholesome, and complete. Yes, this one. She is perfect in all her imperfections. And already we can feel the pressure that has been put into this. But the most important thing that we need to note is she's human, she's resourceful. And this is what I love about her. She's family, she's ambitious, she's authentic, and she enjoys every single bit of life. So today I have these 3 beautiful, amazing, and formidable women who are going to help us break down. The objective of conversation today is really to help participants find a 360-degree view of themselves, help them develop an ability with blind spots. So allow me to introduce each of these ladies so that you understand why they were the 3 who were picked. And 3 is a very significant number, if I may say. So I'll start with Winnie Njenga. So I'll say this as on a light note. This is the only place where I'm allowed to call all the ladies by their first names. So you shall forgive me because I'm a bit, I belong to the African traditional perspective. So I would have stuck to the rest, but today forgive me. So who's Winnie? Winnie Njenga is the Executive Director of the African Council of Accreditation and Accountability, a Pan-African organization that focuses on accreditation and accountability to enhance public trust. Winnie is a certified professional mediator and a co-founder of the TFG Trust that focuses on mentorship and discipleship of young people within family settings and establishing small accountability life groups for them. She's a leadership, governance, and organizational coaching and development consultant. Winnie is also a personal coach, a motivational speaker, and a trainer with audiences both locally and internationally, in which she draws out God-given greatness from within her audiences, repositioning them for phenomenal growth. She's a committed Christian who passionately loves and serves the Lord Jesus Christ. Her passion for the next generation led to the founding of the TFG Ministries and HF Accountability Forums for the next generation of young women and men, in which young people from the age of 8 are discipled within family that are structures to create a social support and accountability groups for a lifetime around biblical teachings, values, and principles. Winnie is a mother to a young adult, a teenager, and a preteen. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring to the floor Winnie. So I will introduce the ladies as they come. Winnie, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Karen, for your very kind introduction, and I'm humbled, and it's a privilege to be here with you. I just ask to be allowed to share my screen so that I can walk through this phenomenal, amazing 360 degrees woman, and I will segue through what Karen has just said about this woman. So if the phenomenal woman at the back of the tech can support me, I'd be more than grateful. Okay. Still waiting to be able to share. Hannah and Kantai are usually quite great at helping us get this going. Okay, you cue me and let me know when we're good to go. Mm-hmm.
You want to
go
share
ahead?
Screen?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I knew you've got this always, Hannah. Thank you. So the 360-degree woman, she's healthy, she's wholesome, she's complete. And like I said, I'll just segue through what had been shared about her by Karen. So who is she? And we'll just walk through her life. We'll breeze through her life, sort of like take a flight across the beautiful savanna plains of this woman as an introduction. And I'm sure that my colleagues will fill in on more of who she is from different perspectives and angles, because we can't completely define her, but we can give each other and share with each other glimpses of who she is, because each of us around this table has a piece of her. So she's all rounded. She is able to weave in and out of different social settings and circumstances, professional settings and circumstances, emotions and circumstances around those, and weave in around all of them and stay balanced and stay vivacious and stay strong and still give a helping hand and have an extra oomph and set of energy for others. She has no stops, no cracks, no flaws, no jumps, and definitely no skips that were taken when God created her. She is full, she is total, she is whole, she's complete. She's enough in who she is. And as Helen said, and I love that statement and I latch on that, she is perfect in all her imperfections. She's not trying to portray herself as being what is not bearable, but she's accepting of her flaws, she's accepting of her imperfections, and she's leveraging on the strength of others and drawing out the strength of others in that same space. She's balanced, she's victorious, she's a pillar of success, not just for herself, but for everyone, and I dare say everything around her, and she's dependable. So she's all that wrapped up in one sometimes frail body of a woman, and more often than not, very strong body and flesh of a woman. Just a snapshot of who she is. And she's around this table today. She's all of us. She's the women on boards. Let's talk about her story, just so that we get to tell whether she is and can be any one of us, whatever age you are, and she really is. This woman's story starts like every other woman's story, waking up daily, like all of us, sometimes not getting too much of sleep or rest, and still able to have her eyes bright and shiny and get on to the day. As she wakes up, she cares for her spirit. The 360-degree woman must care for her spirit, because beyond our soul, beyond our bodies, the physical being of us, beyond our mental abilities, beyond our emotional setting, is that spirit man. And she's very alive to her spirit self, and she cares for her spirit. So if she's one that's given to prayer, she prays. She's one given to meditation. She takes a pause as she wakes up and she meditates. She takes care of that inner soul, that larger than me, larger than life spirit part of her, because she's cognizant of the fact that she's made up of mind, body, and spirit. So she cares for her spirit. Are we caring for our spirits? Are you caring for your spirit? Are you intentional about caring for your spirit, man? And are you intentional about rest? Are you intentional about sleep? Do you have sleep patterns? Do you have routines that wind you down from the day? Do you create safe zones and safe spaces and buffers from a busy schedule into the home in the evening, and then create another buffer between that into your sleep so that you can sleep? She cares for her body and her soul. She's energetic, she's flexible, she's malleable, she's pliable. She, I dare say, is a one-size-fits-all. Why? Because she takes care of her body and her soul. She's strong, she's healthy, she exercises, and she makes sure that she takes care of what it is that is given to the support of enabling for her physical person to be able to be available for all the demands that life puts on her. She's a family person, whether she's got a family of her own or she is a part of a larger family, she has family. And not only does she have family, she cares deeply for family. Her family situation may not always be perfect, but she's the one mediating factor and chooses so to be, because without a basis of a strong family foundation, a lot of things become off balance. And we said that she is balanced. She cares for society. She lives not for one, but she lives for many. And she lives for one in each one of those that are around her in society. She's found her place and her footing in the rhythm of a complex society that is fast changing. And because of her flexibility and because of the strength of her body and her mind, and because of the strength of her spirit, she's able to weave through the different phases and demands and the changes of society and carry it in her sway with poise and grace. And so because of that, she's hardworking. She's hard at work at what is her vocation. She's hard at work at caring for people. She's hard at work at looking out for greater good for society. She's hard at work at sorting out matters legacy, looking beyond her to those that she can learn from, behind her to those that she can draw up to her space. She's hard at work all the time, every day. She has dreams. She's constantly dreaming. I know right now she already sounds like she's sufficient all in herself, but she still has dreams. Whether she's 80 or she's 20, she dreams. She's a dreamer, she's hopeful, and she has great aspirations all of the time, strength of mind. But she also has fears. She has anxieties. She has insecurities. And I dare say sometimes bordering on worries. She really does. And that's her story. However, she's carried both her grand failures and setbacks in her stride. She's not ashamed of them. She acknowledges them. She has worked to rise from the ashes of them. She has been emboldened and strengthened by them, and uses that story to raise another and to inspire others. And so her bumps, fits, and scratches are not points of depression, but they're stepping stones and gems for her next best self and for others who come behind her. She always rises from the ashes. She achieves much continually, no matter what age she is. And she has great success stories, even sometimes and more often than not against the background of setbacks. She has seasons. Her seasons in terms of identity and just knowing who she is and understanding the different identity situations and spaces of ourselves as 360-degree woman, is that there is a need for us to innately remember and embed it in our minds and spirits that we seek to influence and impact every season. Choose your lane of influence and work it. We said she works hard. Work it. Because you're your best competition. Nobody is good enough for you to measure yourself against the backdrop of their success. They are just a representation of possibilities, what is possible. But you choose yours and you stay on course. So the seasons and areas of identity begin from birth and childhood, where the 360-degree woman begins without much concern, trusting, and generally dependent formative years. And a lot of socialization happens at that stage that has a lot of definitive activities for us and for our identity as we grow. And then we go on to teenagehood and adulthood, where we begin to pick the habit of trying to play to the orchestra of everyone but ourselves, where identity is fashioned by what others think about us, especially in teenagehood, and we've all experienced that. And so those formative years, we're concerned about peers, concerned about opportunities in the work world, concerned about, will we make it, where are we going, where do we start? And so in that period of time, the 360-degree woman begins to find her identity in knowing that she's sufficient all by herself. She is enough all by herself. And where she's still a rookie and where she's still wanting, she will latch onto the wisdom of older women. Then we come into the spring season of our lives as 360-degree women, where we have many firsts, just coming into a new job, getting married, raising children, and getting children. And the concern there is about transition and establishing oneself and what the future holds. And in that space, what usually defines an identity of a woman is what kind of job has she gotten into? What kind of man is she married to, if at all she is? What kind of children are you getting? Where are you? What are you doing with your new firsts? But the preoccupation of a 360-degree woman at that point in time should be, this is my space. What lane of influence do I want to have? What do I want to give? What do I have to give to the world? Who has what I need? And how can I latch on to them and find who else needs what I have so that I can give to them? That begins a different trajectory. Way of defining and identifying ourselves. So beginning to influence as early as possible in life. Moving on into summer, looking at middle age, career, concern about success and stability, defining for ourselves what success looks like in Winnie Njenga's eyes, and then working at it. Keep your lane, seek your influence, define your success, and let your identity be drawn from who you are and your value systems. Let your identity be drawn by what you believe in and what you want to leave behind when you leave this earth. Grow it into this time of stability and establish it in the foundations of your life, because from there on, then you go to the older age in the fall, where pretty much is established. Those that are around you are grown and gone, and we're looking at actualizing. And in that period of time, a lot of women who are seasoned 360-degree women are looking to pick up their dreams. Remember, she's hopeful, she has aspirations, she dreams all the time. We find a lot of women going back to school, and it needs to be intentional, not because everybody's getting a PhD, but what do I want to do? What impact do I want to make? Is it best served by a degree or by taking a professional course or program? And being confident about it and running with it and looking for new horizons and opportunities of utilizing that, of manifesting that, of impacting and influencing. That is a period of great outflow, beginning to give. And then in the winter season, where you're completely consolidating the gains. Taking greater breaths, deeper breaths in life. Energy is a little less, but just building on what you have put in. And you've got to have planted and nurtured and watered for you to be able to have something to consolidate at the end of life. So in terms of identity is formed intentionally, and it is formed as you grow and as you seek to influence in every season. Must influence in every season. So in terms of authenticity, there's some interesting facts I just want us to share. Facts that I've gathered for myself over the years, as I have myself grown and observed older women. Engage 3 safeguards. 360-degree women need 3 people in their lives. You want to have your coach, because your coach will keep pushing you on to your next best self. You want to have your counselor, your therapist. Mental health, extremely important. More often than not, you find that this 360-degree woman is wanted and called into many spheres of society to provide leadership and to be a radar. And because of that, the immense and inordinate amount of pressure on her is real. And so your therapist, to debrief, to just clear your mind so that you have a refreshed brain to be able to pick on the next thing that comes at you. And finally, your pastor, your spiritual leader. 3 core pillars: your coach, your counselor, and your spiritual guide are key in keeping you authentic and keeping you grounded to your authentic self, because you have given them permission to speak into your life. and to remain true to self, and therefore true to man. Man here being human beings. The other thing is her council of girls. I call it the council of girls, the friends that speak truth to power. Yes.
Allow me to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. I can see you have your slides, but we can't see them from this. And I'm not sure.
You can't.
I'm so sorry. I know
I'm sorry about that. Okay. Looks like they dropped off, but I'm really at the very end of the slides. Is that any better? Thank you. And sorry about that then. So this woman, allow me to just finalize on her, and we'll share these. We'll share these with everyone. So she has her council of girls who speak truth to power. She's a power, strong people around her that speak truth to power. Again, reading, learning, growing is another reality of this woman. She has the humility to develop on the wings of others and a wealth of intellectual, social, and emotional foundations to collect or pick from and pass on. In terms of remaining authentic, hold out your hand. Do one good turn every day. I'm a girl guide. Do one good turn every day, everywhere, every time. Look for opportunities to do good, because what you give comes back to you. It boomerangs back to you. Raising others, mentoring, creating room around the table for another sister, keeps you your authentic self. You cannot be authentic if you're closing out on others and wanting to be the queen bee. You can only remain authentic for as much as you create space for another. And then dig in your heels on your value code. What are your values? How do you establish those? How do you propagate those? And then be an open book. And finally, breathe. Just exhale. That keeps us authentic because we are us. We are our best self. So in conclusion, just learn to refresh. Take two as often as you need. Step back. If things are not working, re-strategize. Be kind and gracious to yourself. For you to be a 360-degree woman, you cannot keep berating, downtroding yourself. It's never that serious. Laugh at yourself. Joke. Have a good laugh at some of your flaws. And then love people, love people, love people. Love them all you can, because people are your greatest asset. Always learn, always teach, always influence, and find balance. Dig your heels on the ground and just breathe. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. I think as a show of appreciation, we can put on our emoji claps. So yes, that was really potent and powerful. It's not every day that you get, it's only in the Women in Boards conference that you get to hear such information. Yeah, I'm hinting at Kathleen, but thank you so much, Winnie. I'll request all of us to drop in our comments and questions. I can feel the pressure on the next two speakers, so I'm genuinely looking forward to what you're going to deliver. But one thing that definitely caught my attention was when you talked about the 360 degrees woman being a one size fits all. It's not every day that you stumble upon such women. And I would tend to believe that the three women on call right now are those women, and I'm really looking forward to engagement. So for us, let us engage on the chat sections. Let us continue asking questions and making comments. I can see when Beatrice is already commenting, really powerful and relatable. So to our next speaker, allow me to introduce her. She is she's my senior in the profession, someone I have admired for a while. And today I have the distinct honor which I rarely get to introduce her. So who is Sally Mahihu? Sally Mahihu is a proprietor of the law firm of Boya, Mahihu and Company Advocates, and has been an advocate of the High Court of Kenya for 36 years. She's also an arbitrator and a certified mediator. That's something very common between the two ladies. They're both professional mediators. She's a graduate of Bristol University in the UK and London School of Economics and Political Science. She is an ambassador for women empowerment and is the founder of Seasoned Woman. And for those of you who have interacted with that is her tagline, a forum that brings women in the marketplace together in an interactive space to engage in topical issues through various talks, panel sessions, mentorship and coaching programs, etc. Her vision is to raise an army of seasoned women who will embrace the seasons of life and allow those seasons to mold and sculpt them into vessels of purpose, strength, honor, and dignity so that they may conquer and command their mountains of influence and become significant. Already you're hearing Winnie's words being reverberated even through the introduction that I'm making of Sally. Her work and contribution have been, her work and contribution through her seasoned woman vision has been recognized nationally and internationally, and she's a recipient of the Messenger of Hope Award from the Change Nations, ICN, organization in the USA. Sally is an international motivational speaker and a seasoned, passionate, inspirational mentor, certified professional coach, and a minister on various aspects such as relationships, marriage, life skills, career, spiritual calling, purpose, and destiny, both within the church sphere and marketplace. She is a published author of 7 books. Wow. This is a 5-book series titled Seasoned for Destiny, then Seasoned Servanthood, and Moving from Distress to Destiny. She's married and blessed with two children. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring to the floor Ms. Sally Mahihu. Please bedazzle us with your amazing potentness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much, ladies. Catherine, once again, thank you for this awesome platform called Women on Boards. This is awesome. Thank you for bringing us together, this conference. Thank you, Karen. You're moderating so good, my dear. Thank you, Winnie. From what you described, I want to be the woman Winnie described. I definitely want to be. And I've taken notes. So the next time we meet Winnie, you'll see all those elements within me as a 360 woman. Beautiful challenge. Very quickly, because I'm known for breaching time, but I will not in Jesus' name. Now, I believe that to be a 360 woman, you need to embrace 7 principles very quickly. The 7 principles are your person, which is really your identity, understanding and owning your true identity and becoming the who you are born to be. And I'll touch on this later. The second P is your purpose, discovering your life purpose and fulfilling it, doing what you are created to do. And then the third P is your place, locating and positioning yourself in the environment, sphere, industry, area where you are talented, skilled, and gifted for. There's a place that each one and every one of us is shaped to fit into, a sphere, an industry, a sector. So locating that place. The next P, number 4, is your people. And we talked about this. You're identifying and connecting to your right relationships, your tribe, who will help you fulfill purpose and destiny, and vice versa, because you'll also help them, your ladder holders, your burden bearers, and disconnecting from the wrong people, being with the whom you ought to be. We're not supposed to be with everybody in the world. There are certain people, our tribe, who are valuable and add value and usher us to where we're supposed to be in every area of our lives. The other P is your process. This is being ready to pay the price with a C. This is the garama, to pay the price and endure the pain, surviving the storms, the tribulations, the tests of life that come with the process of your making. We are not made, we are made in progression. We are raw. We are made. By the time we've reached where we are to be invited by Catherine to this conference, we've gone through processes. We've gone through storms of life. We've been panel-beaten. Our characters have been molded to the point where we're molded and shaped into vessels of wisdom and resilience and strength. That is embracing the process of your making and shaping. And this is progressive, and we never quite arrive. We say we're still in the making because God is always making us into better vessels, into more usable vessels. The other P is your principles. Your principles. You have to be able to set your principles. You have to say, I live by a code of ethics. I walk and operate and live with a code of principles, core values, things that I believe in, things that I walk by, that help me shape my decisions. And I'm able to, when a crisis arises, I'm able to say, these are the principles upon which I base my choices and decisions. And then the last P, the 7th one, is a prize. We mustn't be this kind of woman who, oh, I don't expect anything. No, I'm doing all this good, but it's okay. I don't have to get anything. No. We have to be realistic and honest that we are expecting, and to be able to accept accept the prize, the rewards, the success that comes with all this. Once we've walked the journey, we paid the price, endured the pain, been made, there are rewards, and we need to graciously receive those rewards, the accolades, accept them graciously, and accept them, not act like we don't want them, or we're not entitled to them, or we don't deserve them. Sometimes it is a false sense of humility when we pretend we're not entitled or we have not accomplished. We must be able to accept by the grace of God where we've come to. Now, when it comes to knowing how to overcome identity crisis, I think it's important to first and foremost know what causes your identity crisis. And I think some of the things that cause an identity crisis, and because these things have a tendency to distort your image of self. And these are things like you have to get out of the prison of past pain. Woundedness, women were often a victim of this. Woundedness, past pain, things that happened to us. You need to get out of that prison. We need to get over the frustration of chronic failures, because failures can really, really distort our self-worth. We need to avoid the poison of people's opinions. This is where there's unhealthy feedback that we eat on, we feed on, and it distorts our self-image. Then we need to wake up from the lethargic lack of purpose. We must live by purpose. We must discover our purposes. We must fulfill those purposes, walk in them so that we have a sense of direction and a sense of focus. And we must settle down from the turmoil of role crisis. Sometimes we must be able to manage role failure. Sometimes we're in a role that fails. We weren't supposed to be there, or there's multiple roles in our lives. We need to be able to juggle them and know how to work them. We need to be able to walk out of a wrong role. We need to be able to even deal with transition of roles, moving from a single girl to a married girl, from a motherless woman, a childless woman to a childful woman. We need to be able to handle transitions of roles, handling roles in our lives, knowing which ones are ours and which ones are not. Because failure to handle your roles can cause you into a role crisis that gets you an identity crisis. Then there's healing from the agony of traumatic trends. Trauma, abuse, all forms of abuse, loss, whether by death or by whichever way you lose loved ones, or loss of property, sickness. There's such traumatic trends in our lives that can distort your self-identity. Sometimes even a long extended sickness can cause you to come to a place, the pain, even just the physical pain and emotional pain, can bring you to a place where you lose your image of self. Who am I? Because you've gone through such storms and such agony of trauma. Then there's tidying up the chaos of a cluttered lifestyle. Clutteredness comes in, whether it's physical, you walk into my house, I'm cluttered, I don't know what is what, I don't give away clothes, I don't give away pots and pans, or even my office, you walk in and the files are all over, or there's a cluttered even spiritual life. I don't know where I sit, which home church I'm in, who I listen to, who speaks into my life. There's clutterness mentally, emotionally, financially. I don't know how I'm working with my money. I don't have a proper money language or proper money order. All this is clutteredness, and clutteredness distorts your self-identity. It throws you into an identity crisis. So knowing what causes identity crisis helps you to overcome the identity crisis, because you address this pain, you address the failures, address the people's opinions, address the lack of purpose, address the role crisis, address the traumatic trends, address the cluttered lifestyle, and you'll walk towards regaining a proper, healthy self-identity, the correct one. And then when it comes to developing the right sense of true self, I think we need to ask ourselves, what defines me and what should define me and what should not define me? Because that then speaks to my true identity. And we need to ask us, because I believe that things like your choices define you, because they eventually form who you are and they form your identity. So watch out for the choices you make in life. Your purpose defines you. What's your calling? What do you believe God has called you to do? What are you doing in society, in community, in your nation? What is it that you are created to do and to make an impact and leave a legacy about? That calling defines you. It ought to define you. Another thing that ought to define you are your beliefs and core values. They define you. And that's why I said earlier, set the principles, know what are your beliefs, know what your core values are, because they do define you. We watch you and we see what you believe. what principles you walk by. So whether good or bad, they define you. And then your hallmarks, your character, and all the storms I talked about earlier, surviving the storms of life, the crisis, the tribulation. These are things that build character in you. Hallmarks, your qualities, your traits. These define you. We watch you and we describe you, and we can say, that's Sally Mahihu, that is Winnie Njenga, that is Karen Rono. That forms your identity in a way, because that's what we portray. So we need to be careful what hallmarks we're allowing to grow in us. Your footprints define you. In terms of legacy, what impact and influence are you leaving in society? Catherine Musakali, I celebrate you all the time, and I tell you, we are told to celebrate people while they're alive. I always tell you and I encourage you that what you're doing for women on boards and women in the marketplace is defining you. It's defining you. Your self-identity is derived also from that, your impact, the impact and the influence and the legacy you're going to leave. And also your relationships, your associates, who you associate with. And we touched on this. It matters who your tribe is, who are your girlfriends. I call them your spice girls. Female friendships are so crucial. You need to have certain female friendships that walk with you. They're your truth, your strength, your freaky ones. You have a set of women friends that really, really shape and help you to be who you should be. And they do define. So watch who you associate yourself with, and your voice defines you. What do you stand for? What do you speak about? When you open your mouth, what do we hear you speak about passionately? You know, sometimes when I'm with girls, they tell, Auntie Sally, you're so passionate about this. You're so passionate about it, because my voice tells me off. My voice betrays me because it says what I stand for. Where does my money speak towards? My energy, my resources. What do I put my resources into? My wealth, my time. That's my voice. So that defines you. So what defines you and what should not define you forms your true self-worth, your true self-identity. Now, we need to be careful that positions and success, there are certain things that don't define us because they're transient. They're transient. They're temporary. They're not permanent. So we need to be careful not to allow certain things to define us because they don't form our true identity, because they're not there. They're transient. They can move from one day to another. And then when we come to the issue of how our personal identity changes, and we touched on this, several things can cause an identity change, whether for good or for bad. But I think we're speaking when your identity changes towards what it should be, towards the true self, sense of true self-worth. And this is things like even your relationships can change your identity. Having confidence, mentorship, coaching, who speaks into your life, the voices that shape you, or your environment, your atmosphere, where you decide to be at. I believe quite honestly that those 7 P's I talked about at the beginning, they do change yourself, your identity towards the right identity, because they cause you to be that wholesome woman. Self-awareness, growing in confidence and self-esteem, and even change of values and beliefs. You know, what have I previously believed in, and how dysfunctional was it? How correct was it? And once I begin to believe the right things and the right beliefs, the right values, the right principles, my identity begins to walk towards that. And the true identity begins to be shaped and formed by that and to change towards that. Now, when we come to the area of ego, the fourth sense of identity, and I describe 7 situations or 7 women, types of women. I talk of the woman who does not know who she was born to be. She hasn't sought God about it. She hasn't read the word of God to understand who God, who created her, intended her to be. So she's walking in a limbo, not quite knowing who she was born to be or who she is. There's a lack of true self-identity. And as soon as she discovers that, the sooner she discovers the true sense of identity. There's a woman who rejects who she was born to be. She may have read about it. She may have had a revelation. She knows who God created her to be. But she rejects it because it doesn't align with what she wants to do. I mean, for years, I was like, I think when I'm 70 is when I'll align with all these good things somebody is supposed to be. Let me have life. Let me live Let me enjoy my life and do all the wrong things. Then at 70, when I'm nearing my death, I'll do the right things and I'll still make to heaven, you know, my legacy will still speak well. But that's a lie of the devil, because you don't know your tomorrow. So I think we shouldn't reject the who we were created to be once we know who we were created to be and what we should be. There's another woman who is who others want her to be. And this is the poison of people's opinions. You shape yourself into who people want you to be. I think maybe people want Sally Mahihu to be this diva, this high-flying diva, this kind of woman who walks like this, dresses like this. And I align myself with who people want me to be. If people think I'm wealthy, maybe I'm not. And then I begin to behave or to get on an identity that is what people want me to portray. And that's not a true sense. Then there's a woman who allows circumstances, adversity, her past pain, you know, failures, all the things I talked about earlier, trauma, raw crisis, to shape her and to say who she is. We must never allow such things to shape our true sense of identity. We mustn't, because those things are not there for life. There are things we can change. There are things we can adjust. There are things we can walk away from and walk into healthy other situations. Circumstances must not. Then there's a woman who allows her successes or failures, yes, I've said this, to shape her, or she's Mrs. So-and-so. So because I'm Mrs. Governor, or I am Mama County, that shapes who my identity is. Those are transient things. 2022 is here. That governorship, another one will vie and get it. So let's be careful what we allow to shape us. Then there's a woman who allows her ego to define her. Now, ego comes in two ways. There's the ego of an exaggerated sense of self-importance, where you think you're all that and you're not quite all that. Then there's the opposite, where you think you're not. There's self-delimiting, self-belittling, self-despising. That's also a part of another aspect of your ego. So there's a negative, there's the pride one and the limiting one. They're both dysfunctions. They both actually cause you to walk in dysfunction. They are a fantasy. It's not true. That's not who you are. And what it is it causes you to pretend to be who you're not, to pretend who you're not, to probably get what you want to get out of people. I may pretend to be very nice and very organized and very loving and generous to get a position, or even educated or skilled to get something I want. Or even a man, he may be a wolf in sheep's clothing. He pretends to be what is not to get the girl he wants. So there's that aspect of becoming the who we are not, or pretending to be who we are not to get what we want. And then when we come to developing a true sense of self, I think every woman needs to ask herself certain questions. What name do you answer to? When they call, do you turn? What do you turn? What do you respond to? What characteristics? What description? What qualities? What traits do you respond to? Because those help you to align with what your identity is or should be, or what it should be. And the second thing is, your name comes loaded with baggage sometimes. Your name is important in terms of your identity, because sometimes your name may become loaded with baggage. Oh, she comes from that family with that name of thieves, with that family that embezzled, that family that did this, that family that is corrupt, that family that is immoral. There is baggage often attached to your name or your background that can affect your identity if you're not careful. You need to be able to shake off certain baggage that comes with your name, that attaches to your identity. And then there's also power. Your name has the power. I'm talking about the power of name in your identity. The name you carry also has the power to propel you in the direction you need to go. And sometimes this looks petty, but it's not. When you're named Tabu or Shida, or a name that definitely propels you in the wrong direction, and it forms the wrong identity of you, a wrong sense of identity. There is also namelessness. You know, when people are imprisoned, their name is taken away and they're given a number, prisoner number 251. Namelessness has a tendency to throw you into an identity crisis and to deny you a true sense of identity. So we need to be careful that we don't allow ourselves to walk in namelessness, Yani, you don't have a clear name. What's your name? What name do you go by? What name do you answer to? And the other thing, the encouragement here is that names can be changed. If somebody named you Shida or Tabu or Shaka, names that honestly, why don't they name you Faith or Grace or Patience or some powerful name that aligns? And because a name has the power to propel you in a certain direction, because it's what you answer to. Patience, yes, there's a patience virtue. Faith, yes, there's that faith virtue. In other countries in Africa, when my children were studying in South Africa, there was this permanent taxi driver. I know every mother has this permanent Uber, permanent taxi driver for your children. So we were in Kenya, but they were in South Africa. And we had this permanent taxi driver who our friends who had kids in South Africa also had. So we all inherited him. And he was called Advance. The Zimbabweans have this way of naming their children. Advance, ADAVNC, advance to forward, yani progression. And every time I'd ask him, Advance, your mother named you Advance. Then I said, why? Oh, she just wants me to be advancing all the time. There's power in the name, and you need to be careful what name you give your children. I wind up by telling you, and I think, Catherine, I've done so well with my time. I'm so proud of myself today. With terms of God is our creator. God is the one who names you. He's the one who gives you a name. So if you're walking around with a name and an identity that does not smell or look like anything to do with God, please, let's ask ourselves, then we're walking in the wrong identity. The word of God is full of who we were born to be, who we were created to be, in God's image as children of God. Thank you. God bless you. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. We could listen to you the whole day. That was really, really, really amazing and powerful. Circumstances should never define you. Develop a true sense of self. Names shape us. Wow. Lucy, I'm really looking forward to you. I can see the foundation and the basis has been set, and you're laughing already. So allow me to introduce Lucy so that we can get to the meat of our conversation. Since we're having really powerful presentations, I will request us to post questions on the chat section. The two ladies described something very fundamental. Winnie spoke about the safeguards, the 3 safeguards. Among the 7 principles that Sally spoke about is people. So Lucy, to me, over the few months we've known together, she's become my people, she's become my counselor and therapist, and she's become one of those people that somehow we always end up sharing platforms with. And she runs an amazing set of things that she'll mention very soon, and you'll understand how she came to Women on Boards as a speaker and hopefully as a member soon. So allow me to introduce Lucy. Lucy's career spans over 30 years in the tourism and hospitality industry, during which she grew into leadership roles in both local and international organizations. Her customer trade is founded on her hospitality background. She is a co-author of an upcoming publication, a certified life coach, a mentor, and a facilitator. Lucy founded LMC Consultancy with a vision to help build women empower. Mute our mics, kindly. Thank you. Lucy is a founding member of Kenya Association of Women in Tourism and the current national chairperson of the Mentorship and Training Committee. A past president of SCAL International Kenya, Lucy is currently a board member of the iconic Kenyatta International Conventional Center, KICC, where she is a chair of the Marketing Projects and PR Committee. Her core values are integrity, consistency, loyalty, and determination. She runs a core value class where you get to identify your core values and you get to muffle and enhance the values that you need to be eliminated. And I am a personal beneficiary of this. She appreciates the simple things in life and she is fulfilled when sharing knowledge and bringing about change. She believes that the transformation of women empowers the world and is committed to transforming one woman at a time by unlocking the limiting beliefs so that they can reach their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the floor Lucy Macridis. Lucy, you can go right ahead.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Karen. And thank you so much, Catherine, also for just recognizing me as one of the women who can come and share a few nuggets and for giving me this platform, you know, with women like Winnie and Sally. Wow, I am so humbled to be here today. And I do hope that at the end of this session, I will be able to have given a further insight from what the two powerful women have shared with us. I mean, just listening to Winnie and looking at her definition, it brought me back to my coaching sessions where I say, write down things, guys, write them down. I mean, Winnie went into the definition of a 360-degree woman. I was just left literally going, wow, wow. But the beautiful thing is I could relate to those women, to what she was describing. And I was feeling so humbled to be a woman. I was feeling this is a gift, God-given gift that I cannot take for granted. What am I doing with it? So just like Sally says that she wrote down some notes, and next time she meets Winnie, Winnie will see the changes. Thank you so much, Winnie, for doing that, for just bringing that to the fore. And then having Sally putting down the 7 Ps, that just brought things together. My definition, my opinion of a 360 woman is all that. And in a summary, it is a woman who knows her sense of self. Her sense of self and her value, because you may believe that you know who you are, and perhaps you do, but you don't know the value, and Sally touched on that. Now, it is one thing to know self, it's another thing to know your value, but do you apply it to your daily life? And this is what I do with my life coaching. I ensure that the women in my sessions to intentionally apply what it is about themselves and their values. So statistics show that only 15% of people are truly self-aware. Can you believe that? Only 15% of people are truly self-aware. So we could be walking around as a 360-degree woman saying, you know, I'm aware of who I am, and all those lovely things that Winnie said, and the great things that Sally confirmed, affirmed, and added on to that. So I'm walking around so confident that I am truly self-aware. But this is a statistic. 15% of us are truly self-aware. Very scary statistics. So which part do you fall in and how will you know? This is a series of surveys that was conducted by a psychologist by the name of Dr. Tasha Urish. And you can look her up. It's very rich what she talks about. She took sample groups of 1,000 people at a time at any one time. And when she carried this through, the numbers that came through, they surprised her. They really surprised her. And of course, when you have surveys, you have statistics, you start to analyze these numbers. I am a numbers person, although I was not really good at numbers when I was in school. But now in my later years, in a different season, just like Winnie is talking about, I am more about measurement. If you're going to say you're doing something, put it down, write it down, attach actions to it, and measurement so that every now and then you can check in and see how you're doing, because you will not always be successful. As Winnie said, we are perfect in our imperfections. However, when we do that, we need to be able to measure it so that we know where to change our narrative from. Now, she pointed out 3 things which I found very intriguing. She put a name to it. You see, once you name something, once you identify something, you're able to deal with it. When something is ambiguous, it's just out there, you know, nobody knows what you're talking about, least of all you. So you need to understand. The first one she talked about was autopilot. So are we self-aware truly or not? Do you just wake up every morning and start going about life and you've not taken those 15 minutes of reflection, of meditation, of prayer, so that you can set your intention for the day? But you wake up and you go through life. I mean, so much happens in our lives as women, and we juggle a lot of things. We're so good at multitasking, and we are able to answer to all the aspects of our lives. This is a gift from God. But God wants us to intentionally live our lives, not in autopilot. So this is where some of this 15% statistics are coming from. We are living our lives in autopilot. You want to take a moment now and just decide, why are you here today for the Women on Boards Network? Are you here because you know Sally, so you're just coming because you know Sally. Sally's got her game plan in life and she knows why she's here today. Maybe you are not aware why you're here today. So you want to take a moment and ask yourself, why am I here? Is this just autopilot because we're in the season of virtual meetings? The other aspect is when you're going into autopilot, you cannot measure the returns or measure the successes or know what your failures are so that you can start from a point and just, take off on a trajectory, take off, leap so that you can go into success. That is autopilot. Autopilot can be so misguiding. You actually think you're living, all you're doing is existing. And one way to do it is just stop. Give you that moment, like Winnie says, breathe. And as you breathe, just think about your life. What is it about? How about the feel-good effect? That's the second thing that she looked at. Because this feel-good effect, those endorphins that you have in your life that make you feel so lovely in that moment, because it is in that moment, it's not lasting. So as a 360-degree woman, you want to be wary of the fact that, are you living in that moment, in that emotional moment that lifts you into that feel-good because you're afraid to face your fears, your limiting beliefs? You're afraid to face your dark side, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, your dark side. Because you're the sum of both things. You're the sum of your good and your dark side. So you choose to see yourselves in a more positive light. And when you see yourselves in a more positive light, you tend to give yourself this false guarantee, assurance, this false thing that comes into your life that I'm doing okay, until you are tested. And life tests us, just like Sally says. The trauma that comes into our life, yes, we get tested. We are who we are today because we have walked it. It is in those moments when you realize, whoa, I really did not know self. But it is in that moment where you pick the opportunities to learn self. This brings me into social media. This is the third part that Dr. Tasha Urish spoke about. Today with social media, there's this other aspect, as we say, social media, communicating, that we are communicating to the world, this persona of ourselves, this persona that we feel that we need to be, and therefore, whatever it is that we are covering, we are ensuring that we are living according to somebody else. Ladies, the 360-degree woman cannot afford to live somebody else's agenda. She needs to live her agenda. But those are difficult questions that you have to ask yourself. And those answers are hard at times. They are so hard that you prefer to now go back into autopilot, into the feel-good effect. In summary, the self is your true identity, the person that you are. And that person may not be smelling like roses, but the beautiful thing is that you need to be aware of that person. So most of the time, we do not know who we are and why we are behaving in a certain way, because we've not taken that moment to go in and ask ourselves. When you go into a doctor's office, the questions you're being asked are very specific. Doesn't mean that you like the answers, but that is the only way a prognosis and then a diagnosis can be done by this doctor. And then they give you the medication that is going to help you. You need to have a meeting with yourself. You need to sit down and start sorting it out in your head, because you could be sitting here saying, I'm self-aware. I know what my limiting beliefs are. I know what my sisterhood is, or as a council of girls that we're talking about, or the tribe, I know who they are. There's some difficult questions you need to ask. If it is a tribe of girls, what do you want them to bring to the table? What kind of characteristics do you want them to bring to the table? Perhaps you thought Lucy was good because she comes across as an authentic person. And then you'll find some things about me. How do you feel about distancing yourself from me? This is so important when you're making your decisions in life, so that when we are behaving in a certain way, we are accountable. As a 360-degree woman, you need to embrace that you are unique in all your imperfections. You are enough. You just do not need to fit in. We fall into this trap of fitting in the different seasons of our life. And I love the way it was described by Winnie when she was talking about the summer, the winter, the autumn of our life, the things that we do as we endeavor to fit in. And I always say, I wish at that tender age, we had women like us on this particular platform speaking to the youth. Just speaking to the youth. What would I tell my 10, 11, 12-year-old self today? I have a lot of wisdom to share with her, but wisdom with the words according to her age set, not with the heavy wisdom that I come with. At my age today, I will speak to my age set with this heavy wisdom that I come with, and I'll have my ears open, my hand open, so that we can share. Because we struggle with our identity. We need to stop selling ourselves that idea of who we need to be. Sally pointed it out very well. Who you need to be for who? For other people? So who is defining this self to you? Who's defining this success to you? Is it the society that is defining it for you? So you go to school, you pass, you go to uni, you pass, you get a spouse, you get children, you get a career, and you're driving all this. Well, this doesn't happen. It is not true for everybody. This is society just giving us a roadmap. But is that what you're running by? You will never be fulfilled, because this is written out by somebody else for you to do. Or is it your family and your peers? Are those the people who are saying to you what life should be? When I speak to young women who are newly married, one of the biggest challenges that they have is from their families now saying, when are you getting the child? When am I getting a grandchild? When are we getting an addition to our families? So this is a true story coming from a place of love from your family members, from your peers. But what about you? What is true for you? Is that your game plan here and now? You need to stop selling yourself the idea of who you need to be for other people and start embracing the authentic you, that self that we are talking about. And a tip to do this is to identify the struggles and call them by name. Just call them by name. Like I was saying about Winnie in the beginning, with all the things she was saying, I even stopped writing. And I do hope we'll get a recording of this. Just the fact that you can write down things and you call them to mind is powerful. You need to write down your struggles, whether it is your limiting beliefs, whether it is a negativity in your life. Just write it down and call it by name. Now, I have struggled with procrastination for the longest time. However, with the help of a coach, because we do need help of a coach, a counselor, and a pastor, as we have been advised, I struggled with procrastination. With the help of the coach, I was able to funnel it down to perfectionism. That's where my procrastination was stemming from. I was then further, because of the questioning technique that she used, I was able to see the connection to my relationship with my father as a teenage girl. I mean, look at how random that is. From the woman I am today, struggling with procrastination, bringing it down to perfectionism and connecting it to the relationship I had with my father. I loved my father dearly, and may his soul rest in peace. And I wanted him to be super duper proud of me. First daughter, third born in a family of five, so I was a middle child, and therefore I was trying to find my own identity, my own footing, because for those of you who understand the listing of being born in a home, you've got your firstborn, you've got your lastborn, and you've got the middle child. And that comes with this whole host of dynamics that need to be addressed at times. So I wanted him to be proud of me. So where does procrastination and this perfectionism come in? This young girl, this teenage girl, showed up in my adult life as a perfectionist. Guys, when I'm at work, I overthink things. I go over a project 101 times. I am that person who there is a job which I know I can do. They want 10 things. I will line up, in fact, not 10, but 15. And yet all I had to do was give 2 things, do a cover letter and show up. I'm that kind of person who dots I's and crosses T's, not once, not twice, but 3 times. When this was made clear to me, when I had this clarity that this is where the connection came from, Winnie, I was able to breathe, that I am enough. I am enough. And today, when I hear this definition of a 360-degree woman, I know that I am enough in my imperfections. Because at that time, I was selling myself the idea of who I need to be for others. This was for my father. That is where it started. But then I went through life wanting to be this person for other people so they could see me in this light. It is easier to have that feel good. It was not sustainable. But I was coming from that place. And this is how I showed up all the time. Now, it's another question, what people felt when they saw me and they received me in this way, and this is the way I behaved. But I am not responsible for their actions. I'm responsible for mine as a 360-degree woman. So what are you struggling with? Have you taken time to find out how to get help to unearth it? So that you know that if it is procrastination, like in my case, it stemmed from wanting to be perfect, to be loved by my father, and today changing my narrative. It's important for you to know what you're struggling with. I love how Sally put it, the revisiting of values and principles. So consider how many decisions you make in a day. I mean, how many decisions have you made today? Even in this session that we have been in for over an hour. And ask yourself, are they grounded in my values and principles? Just ask yourself and start writing things down, because this is an opportunity to shift from the idea of who you need to be to being your authentic self. I give this example in my sessions. If today, and this is God forbid, you found yourself in a refugee camp, you have been stripped of your family, you've been stripped of your material things, you've been stripped of your education, you've been stripped of your home, or you've been stripped of so many things. It's just the clothes that you have on your back. In fact, you've been stripped of your family, because where you've ended up, you're on your own. Who is left standing there? It is my hope that as a 360-degree woman, the person who's left there is a person of values, principles, and ethics. That cannot be taken away from you. Sally talks about the personal identity. That cannot be taken away from you. When we think of you, we think of those things. Again, ladies, it's an opportunity to shift from the idea of who you need to be for others to becoming your authentic self. It is food for thought. We change over time. In my opinion, we do change over time. With the different seasons that we go through, the lessons that we learn, we grow, our muscles get stronger. But it's got to be the right change, like Sally talks about. It's got to be from that point of view where you know what needed to be changed, like you do a self-audit. What do I need to change today? What do I need to continue doing? What do I need to stop doing? It's a personal audit. So the awareness of true self is driven through change. And I just want to bring in a concept, and I won't be long on this because I can see now I've only got a few minutes to go, is your shadow self. Your shadow self is everything you do not know about yourself yet. These are the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that are part of you. Now, knowing this shadow self will help you develop greater emotional intelligence, greater relationships, like the one Sally was referring to. But how do you go about this? And this is going to sound very random, but I just want you to bear with me for these 3 points. I want you to close your eyes and just remember an emotional reaction that you had towards somebody. And this emotional reaction, I want you to think about something that really annoys you about this person. So just that close attention to your emotional reaction towards this person, and it's something that annoys you about them. Just think about it for a second there. Is it your boss? Is it your child? Is it your spouse? Is it your neighbor? Is it your Uber driver? Is it your pastor, your priest? Is it somebody in your group, your tribe? So the last reaction that you have towards them, and it was something that they did that really drives you crazy. Well, as a 360-degree woman, you need to be aware that whatever bothers you in another is most likely a disowned part within yourself. It's just waiting for the right conditions to trigger it. You are repressing it. Now, once you see it and acknowledge it, then you will have less frustration or judgment of this individual. Bang, emotional intelligence right there. I'll give you an example so that you can be able to internalize this. For me, it was laziness. When I did this exercise, it was laziness. And I would look at the youth specifically because I do youth mentorship programs. And before I had this aha moment, I was so frustrated and I was so judgmental of the youth that they are lazy. When I went through this particular theory and I realized and went back into my life, the time when I was lazy, that time when I felt I was lazy, I found I was doing the same things, if not worse than them. But I had not had full closure about that laziness. And like you have heard, I'm a perfectionist. So what did I do? I worked overtime to overcome that laziness. Now, if it bothers me, that tells me the laziness is still hanging in there in my life and I have not brought closure to it. Now, if somebody does something, it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't exist within you. And people will ask, why are you not bothered about that person doing X, Y, Z? Oh, I don't see what the problem is, because it doesn't exist within you. So you need to be intentional about finding out what your shadow self is. You need to measure for growth. And you need to have at least 15 minutes. I love to do it in the morning. We can be able to just reflect on our lives. When it looks at your own development, I recommend as a 360-degree woman, those same emotions I am talking about, you identify your emotion because we are emotional beings as women. We are emotional beings. We are more hardwired to run on soft skills than we are on hard skills. If you're put in a situation, you become more nurturing. You don't bring in your education to this situation. The first thing you do is you become into that nurturing mode. So just think of any emotion that you had this time in a different scenario, the last time that you were successful. What emotion did you have? What word came to mind? Was it enough that came to mind? Was it fulfilled that came to mind? Was it abundance? Was it happiness? Was it love? Those are the beautiful words that you need to pick out as an emotion and replicate in your life over and over again for your authentic self-development. So what do you need to do today as a 360-degree woman? How do you want to grow into this woman? And as we were told, she's progressive, like Sally says. But we want it to be sustainable, ladies. The answer to what you're going to do today will plug into a sustainable behavior and make it real. Thank you so much.
Wow. Well, I think from just the two speakers who are listening to Lucy, I could see the reaction and we're on the same wavelength. That was beautiful. Identify your limiting beliefs and struggles and call them by name. Own it in order for you to literally address it. So I think we'll go to the Q&A section. I've seen one question in the chat box, but allow me to flip the script a bit. All the three ladies talked about identity, literally the identity of a 360 degrees woman. Winnie, initially when you began, you took us through the seasons. So the question would be, as the ladies transitioning from one season to the other, is there a danger of them literally losing their authentic self? And how can they retain the authentic and genuinity as they shift from one season to the other?
Let me now just share that because I realized that the slide didn't come up, but I'll just go back to that slide just for ease of reference. How do we make sure that we don't lose our authenticity from one season to the next? And the answer is up there, seeking to influence and impact in every season. Because when you do that, you realize, choose your lane of influence and work it. Yeah, you're your best competition and not others. You identify and determine what your value system is, what you believe, what you stand for, what your purpose is, what God sent you on this earth to do. And when you do, then seek in every season of your life what it is that you have to give, what you can give in order to influence. You're never too young to influence. or too old to influence, or too messed up to influence. There's redemption and there is restoration. And out of the ashes comes beauty that you can use in your path of influence. So finding those that are your council of girls, your tribe. I love what Sally said there, your tribe of girls. I mean, that's just so swag. And I'm running with that, Sally. Finding your tribe of girls, those people that speak truth to power, those that are not intimidated by your strong self, 360-degree woman, and that can speak to you and that can love on you and celebrate you, and take that counsel, take the celebration, utilize it in influencing. Of course, influencing here positively through the seasons of life. The different seasons will give, as you can see on the screen, different challenges. They come with different settings and environments. Some draw out a lot more energy from you, especially the earlier seasons than others. But in all of those, have your council of girls, your tribe of girls. Let them speak truth to power. Let them celebrate you. Let your coach, priest, and counselor or therapist speak into your life. Pick those and seek to influence. Pick your lanes. Set yourself a standard against your value system and seek to influence. That keeps you grounded. That keeps you safeguarded from fickleness, from the fake it till you make it that somebody asked on the chat box. Fake it till you make it is such hard work because you're living, as Lucy said, you're living somebody else. I don't know how to be Lucy. You do you. Yeah, just do you and just be you. I mean, you're the best ever. There's no clone. The day you leave this earth, that's it. So spend your time and energy just doing you. You're good, you're great, you're complete, you're everything that God created you to be. And you've got woven within your fabric with all those safeguards I've mentioned, what it takes to influence. Find your lanes and work it. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. Allow me to ask Sally a question. So in her presentation, she had mentioned about literally addressing the fourth form of identity. So there's about that bit where a society as a whole expects you to be one person, and then there's a person who you want to be. And again, back to your seasons, these transitions to every single season of your life, when you become a mother, when you become a corporate lady and the like. So how do you ensure that you become properly grounded? And within that, among the 7 principles were P for people. How do you identify your tribe? It's not every day that you get to meet people that you are like-minded and the like. How do you identify these people and how do you get firmly entrenched with them?
Okay, thanks, Karen. I like what Lucy just touched on now. The danger of when transitioning, there's a danger of the shake-up of your identity or the change and losing the authenticity. Was it Winnie? And this comes as, especially in an easy example, it's like even with marriage, even in marriage. That's why we tell single girls, know who you are before you get into that marriage. Don't go to be changed or to be transformed into somebody. You have to first know who you are. What are your values? Who am I? What is my identity? Then when you marry, there are two wholes coming together. Remember a long time ago, we used to be told, I think in my days of marriage, I'm really old, it was like two halves coming to make a whole. But there's a subtle difference there. It's like two whole identities coming together, both secure, both knowing who you are. And I think if you enter into a relationship, whatever nature of relationship, whether it's business, whether it's professional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's marriage, and you don't know your identity, you're going to have a shakeup there. You're going to kind of get distorted and lose it along the way. If you begin to have babies, when you don't know who you are, you don't have an identity, utakuwa Mama Joki, Mama Jane, Mama so-and-so, and that sort of starts to take away from the core of who you are. So I think it has to be who you are. Even in a business partnership, what's your identity? What do you stand for? What's a core you, the authentic you? So you don't get into this partnership and then suddenly you're being influenced by the other person's identity. So I think there's knowing that it's a prerequisite to know who you are before you engage other people or enter into any situation. Or when you go to, even in positions, like if I get a very high position today and I become like the VP or the deputy president, don't look at me funny. Some things are possible. I could be the next this. But the question is, how have I entered that position? Do I first know who Sally is? Do I have a secure, strong self-identity so that that position doesn't change me? It doesn't distort. It doesn't confuse me. Are you getting me? It's very important to have a grounded self. Then on the issue of relationships and the people in your life, I love the summary of the therapist, the priest, the counselor. You know, I'm learning so much today. I've got notes here galore, you know, and you must know who is who in your life. The 7 Spice Girls I talk about, I say 7, there could be less or more, but I identify with 7 key women in your life that actually, as Winnie says, speak into your life and shape you. And this is your truth. I talk of your truth. Among my girlfriends, I know who speaks truth. I know the particular friend in my group of friends who tells me what I don't want to hear, but what I need to hear. She's my truth. She will say it as it is. And the others actually send her. They send her to me. They say, hey, Ebu, go and tell Sally this, because I would hear the others. The others are not graced and they're not anointed to tell me that. She is. Then there's my strength. There's the one who is my rock. She inspires strength. You know, when I'm weak, she discerns it more than the others. And she's able to come and inspire strength and push me on and spur me on and tell me, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And she's my strength. Then there's your bodyguard. There's the one I call my bodyguard. And this is the one who and I name them with spices because if she's my bodyguard, she's like my ginger. You know, ginger is a fortress. Garlic is a strength. Salt is truth. And this bodyguard is the one who Sally stole. Oh, did you hear Sally stole from the corporation? She says, what? Sally's not a thief. She defends me, then comes to find out whether I did it or not. Or did you hear Sally was with this guy? Where? She defends me first. She defends my honor. And then she comes to check and then maybe slap me on the wrist for if it's true what I did. But a bodyguard, somebody who defends you, somebody who stands up for you. Because she can see maybe you're not able to defend yourself in certain situations. If somebody plagiarizes my book, she's the one who says, why did you copy her chapter? Why did you do this? People who defend you. She may fight battles for me and my marriage that I'll never hear. Years later, she said, one day there was this babe. I really went and I sorted it out. I even told your husband to stop it. There are people like that in our lives, bodyguards. Then there's your freak. This is the girl who lets you be. She can see you work so hard, you're so tired, it's December. And she says, let's just go to Mombasa. Let's just go for a spa day. We can't afford that 10K each because we're in debt. But so what? What can 10K can't even take us out of debt. Let's just blow it. There's your freak friend. She brings out the spirit, the free spirit in you, and she allows you to be. But there's also boundaries. You know this, I write in my book, there's boundaries. You need to know how far to allow that one or this one to go. Then there's the one who is like a mirror to you. It's like a sweet and sour. You're so similar. There could be a sibling rivalry. There could be some rivalry, but you're so similar and you need to know how to balance it. So in short, women friends, solid. Each of them plays a different role completely. There's friends of mine who manage me. If I give another friend to organize the event, they're like, but I have that spice girl who will see the itaga, the bridal shower in my home, the marriage of my son. I mean, she steps in and plays, she's anointed and graced for it. So what I'm saying is that you have to discern them as you relate to them over time. You especially as people at our age, you come to narrow down on the girlfriends. You're no longer looking for new friends. There's nothing wrong with the new friends, but you're not really looking. You're solidifying what you have. And they all play a different role. And what happens is they know it, you know it, so it blends very well. It falls nicely. And the ones who are not anointed for it will mess you up. If one who is not anointed to tell me truth, she'll hurt me. She'll say it in the wrong way at the wrong time, and she'll destroy me in a moment when I'm really wounded or really weak. So it's important And you are also all that to other people. Find out who you are to each of your girlfriends, because you play a spice in each of the other. It's a vice versa, it's a two-way street. So it's not just people adding value, you're also adding value to them. I hope I've answered, but it's in my book. I encourage you to buy my books. All this is there. Yeah. Yeah.
Completely right on point. Identify which of the Spice Girls you are. Are you the garlic? Are you the ginger? Are you the mirror? That was really indeed beautiful. And to Lucy, I will request, I know we are almost out of time. So what I'll request is if you have any other question, I don't want to lock anyone out. Please feel free to raise your hand or to post it in the chat section. But to Lucy, all these ladies on the call have one thing in common. They are busy women. And being busy means once in a while we get lost in it. So kindly tell us, how does someone, I know you're very passionate about mental wealth and health. So kindly elaborate for us how the modern woman can take care of herself, the 360 degrees woman. How can she inculcate the culture of self-love and self-care into her system?
Thank you so much, Karen. There's only the word balance that came up in the beginning. In fact, when Winnie mentioned it, I wrote down, what did I write? Work-life balance. And I put a question on it, and then I put an emoji on it, because she described the 360-degree woman as a woman who has balance. And that just suggests that she's the embodiment of all this multitasking that needs to be done. She's needed in every aspect of this life, and how can she carry it through? So in that balance, the word that came up, and I wrote it below, was prioritizing. So what are the important things in your life that you're going to give time? I am one of those individuals who don't touch something unless I'm going to give it my all. Again, you see that thing of perfectionism, it's coming back again. So I am present. When I show up, Karen, I show up. And I'm sure you and I have been in sessions together where I am showing up, or I'm saying to you, I'm unable to be there on that day. So as a 360-degree woman, with the balancing of the lives that we have, there can be a debate that is carried out. Is it possible to have everything? I really believe that there's balance and there's priority. Sally pointed out that you don't need everybody. You don't need all those things. You choose. She has even gone ahead now and mentioned with the 7 Spice Girls. She's mentioned 7, and she said there could even be less. And they would even get lesser as you get older. But you see, it's intentional. She's gone out and looked for these people intentionally, and you're also that one person to them. So how are you going to balance your work life? How are you going to balance your life? You want to identify what is important to you and then prioritize. Make sure that if it is family that's important to you, then you know the things you have to do today to have a sustainable tomorrow. If it is spirituality, you want to apply the same thing. If it is your mental health, and this is now the buzzword today, if it is your mental health that you feel is important for you, then you need to apply to it. In fact, you will find that mental health, it covers all those areas that are important in your life. And at times we tend to ignore it as women because we think we are okay. We think we are okay until 3 a.m. in the morning when we are unable to sleep, and when we're even trying to pray at that hour and the words are not coming. It's because where we have reached, that cup is dry. It is so, so dry. So what are you going to do today to ensure that you are able to prioritize your life and show up for it? And let that legacy, I think it was Winnie who talked about legacy. I'm sorry if it was Sally, I can't remember right now. But that legacy is very important. What can somebody say to you today before you die to be a true story? I like what Sally did there for Catherine. To be a true story and come to you and say, Karen, this is how I feel you have touched my life today. Therefore, I can learn on the balancing of this. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Karen.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much. And Christine actually asked the same thing. Does it mean priority, or does it necessarily mean, yes, the balance option? And you really answered that in the question I've asked. So what I'll do is I will let each lady to have a closing remark, and then we can wrap up this session. I know it has been quite an amazing, important session. I can see the silence meaning and the numbers being stable, meaning that everyone is still waiting for more. So let's just have our closing remarks, then we can wrap up the session. So Winnie.
Thank you so much, Karen. I will just sum it up in 2 words: influence and breathe. And keep doing that. In influence, you are impacting, you are giving out, you are growing others. You yourself are receiving from others so that you can give out. And then breathe. Take time to step back, take stock, love self, care for self so that you can step out again and influence. So just influence and breathe. Therein, you will find your balance. You will consistently find your radar on purpose. You will consistently give your Spice Girls, again, I love that, your Spice Girls an opportunity to keep finding space to speak truth to power, as you're breathing. And therein, you will find the fullness of life as God intended for you to be. So influence and breathe. Thank you.
Sally, on to you.
And my closing remark is I just love Winnie and Lucy. I want to encourage the women listening to us. There's such value in our fellow women. I mean, every time I share a platform with other women, I learn so much. I mean, today I'm going out so wealthy. I've received so much from Winnie and Lucy this afternoon, and even the other women earlier on and yesterday. So what point am I making? I have such a healthy respect for women with knowledge. I admire, I honor it, I respect it. I tap into it, I receive it. It doesn't matter whether you're 20 years younger than me. I really do. And it has helped my life. It's helped my walk. It's grown me so much. So I just want to encourage us to be that, to listen to another woman talking and just see that wealth of wisdom and nuggets and value and tap into it, draw into it. And that's how we learn and grow. We learn from others. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much for what you've spoken today. I've learned so much. And thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much, Sally or Senior. Lucy, on to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Sally. This is a very humbling platform. It's so beautiful that we can share, because in my parting remarks, it's about how we can make an impact in somebody else's life as a 360-degree woman. Is it through coaching, mentorship? Is it through teaching? Is it through storytelling? I mean, write a book. I love that you've written all those books. Fantastic. I'm an aspiring author. I will get there. But just share your story. Share your story, because there's a woman who is in another season right now. She's about to step into that season that you're in. And because of what you said, you just made it more hopeful for her. And she was ready to step in and go through whatever dynamics it is. It is important, ladies, one of the things that I spoke about in identifying your shadow self, because you are a sum of your good, of your light and your dark sides. And therefore, once you can identify that, you know how to rewrite the script. It is your life. It's nobody else's life. So what do you want to do with those emotions? Do you want to rewrite them, or do you want to stay in the warrior victim mode? And just in the end, I say, remember to stop selling yourself the idea of who you need to be for somebody else and start living an authentic life. Thank you very much.
Wow. First of all, I technically am probably 20 years younger than all of you. It has been an amazing situation to share a platform with you and learn so much, because just within one session, we've described the 360-degree woman in all forms, shapes, and sizes. And I know from the audience that they've gotten to place themselves in the relevant categories and write and identify the limiting beliefs that would enable them to be a 360-degree woman. So as I leave, I just have one beautiful comment to make. Whatever name we choose, whoever we choose to be, and whatever limiting beliefs that we choose to identify and fight our way through, may the world feel our impact as a 360 degrees women we are. Thank you very much. And back to you, Catherine. And thank you so much for the time and audience.
Wow. Ooh. Can we just give the ladies a round of applause, a virtual one if we can, let's just appreciate them for the nuggets that they have shared with us. This has been amazing. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Winnie. Amazing. I can never tire of listening to all of you. Thank you so much. Ladies, it has been an honor and a privilege to share the last 2 days with you. I have learned so much. I mean, when I look at the program, starting with the PS Zainab, she gave us so many nuggets yesterday about how we can expand our horizon. She was amazing. And for those of you who have not signed up for the awards tomorrow, please come. She will be there. And so will the governor of Nairobi. So please come, let's celebrate as women. We went on to current affairs, global trends shaping leadership today. We had Patrick Obath, who has been there, done that, all matters to do with the board and business leadership. It was amazing. We learned so much about the global trends and how they impact us here in Kenya. We then went on to resilience, leading for the long term with Mike Eldon, sharing with us and telling us, I do recall him saying that we are no longer talking about VUCA negatively, but VUCA 2.0 is about opportunity. So again, lots of lessons learned in that session. Then we had the next era of globalization, next steps of globalization. Amazing, amazing discussions yesterday with the acclaimed author, Evans. We had Dr. Milton, all the way from the US, and then Mary Wamai. Amazing discussions yesterday. Today, another day with amazing, amazing speakers, starting this morning with digital transformation. We had our 2 speakers earlier today, and they were amazing. Just what can we do as board members in terms of superintending over digital transformation of the businesses that we look after. Then just before this last one, we had ESG, why the social pillar must take center stage. And we had, again, 2 speakers telling us about ESG, the importance of ESG, and why it is important that each of us take steps to ensure that we are looking after the social pillar, we're looking after the environmental pillar. And I remember Paul telling us that people are now investing with an ESG lens on. Jacqueline emphasizing the importance of boards taking charge of ESG. Now we are ending with a 360 woman. It couldn't have been a better panel than the 3 speakers that we have. And ladies, one of the things that has kept coming to my mind is that we don't have a shortage of knowledge and experience around. It is about what lessons we can pick from the people we interact with on a daily basis. The moderators have been amazing as well. They have shared nuggets with us. They have helped shape the discussions with us. But the conference could not have been successful without each and every one of you on this call. And so I want to thank you for finding time to come for the conference. It just seems like it has been a week of learning. It has only been 2 days, but see what we have learned. Thank you so much for making this such an amazing, amazing conference. Before I end, I just want to ask 2 things of you. And the first thing I want to ask of you is, which woman are you holding up? Which woman are you going to hold up tomorrow? Which woman are you going to support so that they can be the best they can be? That's the first one. The second one I'm going to ask of you is this. What goals are you going to set for yourself to be a better person than you are today? Because God made you for greatness. And I'm not saying that you're not great where you are, but you have to keep aspiring for greater greatness, if there is such a term. So what goals are you setting for yourself for greater greatness? And how will you hold yourself accountable? So I want to leave you with those two thoughts. And please, I will not come and find out from you what you have done. Hold yourself accountable. And if you need a buddy to hold you accountable, find them and share with them what your thoughts are and ask them to hold you accountable. So I want to thank our speakers who have been amazing right from yesterday to today. I want to thank our moderators who have been amazing. Thank you so much, Karen, and the rest of the facilitators who have been really, really good. Before I end also, I want to thank the Secretariat. They have been behind the scenes, just making everything happen. And as you know, they've been running with the awards as well. So this time they have had so much on their hands. It has not just been the conference, it has also been the inaugural awards, and we will be celebrating the winners tomorrow. So thank you, Secretariat. Thank you, Mrs. Wanga. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Kantai. You guys have been amazing. I can't thank you enough. And I want to thank the Board of Women on Boards Network as well, who have been supporting us through this whole process, who have been there to act as sounding boards for us as we were putting together this conference. I want to thank Beatrice Meso in particular, who has been running with the issue of awards. She has just, she has emptied herself for the Women on Boards Network. I can't thank her enough. I want to thank the members of the committees, in particular the committee that was responsible for putting this conference together. You really have done well, and we can't thank you enough. So without spending too much time, a special thank you to each and every one of you for the success of this conference. And I'm looking forward to celebrating with you tomorrow as we celebrate the ladies and gentlemen and institutions who have made significant steps in gender diversity and inclusion. So I look forward to meeting you tomorrow physically, for those of you who can. If you can't, please join us online, but I would rather see you physically because it's been a long time since I saw you. So thank you so much, and I want to hand back to the Secretariat. Thank you.